Hi guys, welcome back for another one. Now by the time this video goes live on YouTube, we are a little ways out of 24 hours from when the devs are going to release their response to a lot of complaints that are in the game. Now I've already made a part 1 of this video talking about the game modes and the issues with them and some solutions that they could implement to make them better, or even just find a way to give us more resources that would alleviate bottlenecks. Now that video did not go in detail about bottlenecks, but this video, that's what it's all about. So guys, if you're ready for it, sit back, relax, and let's get into it. Now the first bottleneck that I want to jump into pretty much pertains to newer players than it does veteran players like myself, and that's character farming, right? There are 160 characters in the game. Now not all 160 are farmable, right? Some are legendaries, some are exclusive, which is character farming, and you even need to farm characters to get those legendaries. So in a way, all 160 are somewhat needing to have a farming mechanic to get them unlocked. But the problem is new players, when they start playing this game, are already so far behind. Now, they can streamline and skip a lot of characters that we had to build up back in the day and just leave those characters sit on the roster as nothing. But you are a hero collector game, please don't forget that. But with that said, how long is a reasonable amount of time that a character remains unfarmable in the game? How long is a reasonable amount of time that a character stays in a premium orb? The milestone orbs, which should be changed to seasonal orbs, it seems like a character stays in there for about 1 year. Even though I am a little worried that Symbiote Spider-Man will be a little power creep by the time he comes out of those orbs, but it's a lot better than the 2 years that the average of a character stuck in a premium orb. This is one of those things, like how can you help newer players catch up farming characters, especially since your content is scaled for star level? Which brings me into my next point, which is also a really serious bottleneck for all players, but especially newer players, and that is the war store, right? You got to choose between farming exclusive characters, or when they decide to show up, or specific gear that you need to get the highest level in this game. I don't know about the rest of you, but I never have enough war currency to cover everything that I need. Now, let me get one thing clear. I expect this game to have bottlenecks. I'm not saying get rid of all the bottlenecks. I'm just saying, sitting back from this point of view, it's a crawl for me. What do you think it's like for a newer player? They don't have the backlog of all the other orange gear, which that's coming up. And this is why I really would like to see them implement an orb, just like the raid store, for the war store characters. Help the newer players get character shards, right? They'll have no control over it, but they'll get character shards. So that way they can get to actually farming this gear in a reasonable amount of time. Or just make the war store full of characters that are not highly desired. That would be a solution, so that way they could get them on their luxury and get the gear that they absolutely need on the characters they need to clear content. Once again, it's okay for bottlenecks, it's just at some point we have to stop tailoring everything to the end game players. Next up, ability material. Now this is not really a bottleneck for the late game players, except for the orange one, which I'll get into, but it is a bottleneck for the newer players. And I've said this in a previous video, I think of my broken game modes video, is that the other, especially the green and the blue, like they are a bottleneck for a brand new player. Trust me, I opened a new account, it was a grind. And I said about making the lower ultimate raids, just give an abundance of those two ability materials so they can get that on their characters real fast and get going, get into U6 where they can start getting the ability materials on their own. So later in the game, right, those are not even a problem later in the game. T4s. Now I find it crazy in this game that sometimes the best rewards in the game are given to people that have whaled. Maybe that's supposed to be the compensation for spending a ton of money on this game, but only a select group of individuals or an individual can actually get that top reward. So I'd really like to see some of these rewards, especially the T4s, be more balanced out so that there's a slight increase that top spot, or even just making a top 1% instead of an actual top, I think it's top broken down by top 10, top 20 in the raid and war season points. So I don't know if we're at the point in the game where T4 should just be in abundance. Probably not, right? Since they are the top currency. Just like to see that climb just a little bit like this, just so that way I know I'm making progress in the game and I'm not constantly seeing the same percentage over and over again. And also, when you do character reworks, please don't hide everything behind a T4. Moving on. Purple gear. All right, what should I say about purple gear? I don't know if they think this is in abundance or not, or that little icon of gear they give us in the milestones actually can make up for the shortcomings of what origin gear we need. But if I'm a later game player and I'm still running into issues of running out of purple gear, especially the origin trait gear, that's a problem, right? That's a problem. And if it's a problem for me, it's a bigger problem for a new player that isn't doing the highest level raids like I am. And maybe it's an intended bottleneck, right? But I'm going to get into orange gear here in a little bit. And if orange gear is the intended bottleneck, why does purple gear need to be the intentional bottleneck? So one of the ways to circumvent the purple gear, especially if you're a later game player, is to balance out which origins you are leveling up at a time. If you do an entire team like I did, the Astonishing X-Men, I was able to get 3 of the 5 to gear tier 12 before I ran out of mutant gear, basically in the purple. And it took me to get those 2 characters done in probably about 2 weeks of going through the store, opening up orbs as I got them, and also farming specific nodes that gave me the gear that I was short on. But once again, it goes back to the newer player thing. If I'm a newer player and I need to get character shards and I need purple gear, so bottleneck for a newer player is very frustrating, especially when they're trying to play catch up. Now, I don't expect them to catch up and compete with me in everything, but I do expect them to be able to catch up to the U6 and at least the beginning of U7 at this point to get themselves going. Maybe a high level of U6. Maybe that's a good place to put it. Next up, Ion Bottleneck. Now this one, I don't find that it's that bad, but then again, I don't have personal experience because I don't really push myself when it comes to ISOs. I probably will when blue comes out if that really is the next level of power creep. But I know from several sources that ions are a problem. You seem to be able to get the ISOs themselves pretty easily, but the ions always seem to be in short supply. Once again, I don't expect them to get rid of every bottleneck, just point out that this is a bottleneck in the game. This is more of like a factual video, guys, than anything else, right? Factual and offering solutions where I can. Now, ions, I'm hoping when they launch the Doom raids with the actual blue ISOs and add ions as rewards also, I'm assuming that they're going to add ions in there enough to make the ion bottleneck with just the green gear no longer a bottleneck, and that you'll just have the bottleneck going to blue gear, which means ions will still be a bottleneck, but applying that green gear won't be as detrimental as it is now. If it's done that way, right? Yeah, let's go. Next up, gold and training mats. All right, I see this all the time on my stream. Every time this is brought up, if gold is the intended bottleneck, why is training mats? You need gold to apply training mats. This bottleneck doesn't seem to make sense. Now, we're probably getting into the more serious ones that I think they really need to do something about versus the ones where, hey, I'm just pointing it out, it'd be nice if you did something, but I'm not expecting a huge overhaul or a huge influx. Maybe purple gear, maybe it's a little bit more there, guys. But anyways, training mats, right? Why do they need to be a bottleneck if gold's the internal bottleneck of the game? Now, I understand why training mats are important. I know some people suggest us get rid of them all completely, but the training mats do help me manage my gold to the high roller milestone every single day, so I do not want to see them go anywhere because as they help me balance that number out, I just think they should be in abundance where you always will have them. It's just a matter if you have the gold or not. So that's where I am on that one, guys. And if you guys have any opinions on any of this stuff, please leave it in the comments down below. And if I don't cover your bottleneck in this video, please let me know, as I will make sure I make a note of it to make sure if I need to make a rebuttal after the dev blog on Friday, I can mention that if it's not taken care of. Let's move on. Next is the red star bottleneck. Now, after the last time they've reworked the red stars, given us a progression, given us promotion credits, that you could go from an Elite 4 to Elite 5 to Elite 6 to Elite 7. You know, I've never opened an Elite 7, I've only ever opened one Elite 6. I was okay with that, right? There was no more backwards progression. In case you guys haven't been around for a while, backwards progression was when you could actually open up some red stars, or actually even pay for them, and actually net no progress at all because there was no currency system, no promotion credits, there was no going up to an Elite 4, going up to Elite 5. Like, you just, everything that you open up, if it was repeat, it was pretty much just trash. I believe you did get credit for another orb, but if that orb was a repeat, you pretty much lost everything because then you got credits to open that orb again and you didn't net anything new. After that rework, I was okay with red stars, mainly because I found it wasn't that difficult to attain the red star level you needed to clear content. However, with Doom raids, it seems like red stars are becoming more of an important power creep that you need to clear content. And if something's needed to clear content, the RNG of it needs to be removed and the control of it needs to be increased. Now, there is some people speculating based on the last week's dev blog, will there be a currency to help us put red stars on characters faster or not? It seems to be up to debate and interpretation because they didn't say directly if it would or would not. Just we knew red stars for Ultron and Ultimus. So at this point, they definitely need to increase at a minimum the silver promotion credits. I would really like to see them increase it to where we have the opportunity to gain about 150 silver promotion credits a month. That allows us to take a character from 4 to 5 red every single month. And out of 160 characters, and you only do that 12 months a year, yes, it's not even 10% of our total roster. And plus, you're going to keep adding 3 characters a month. I think it's fair. I think it's a very valuable thing we need, especially when content is being tuned up to very high star levels, red star levels, that is. And the last thing I want to talk to you guys today is Orange Gear Bottleneck. I'm labeling this one critical. Like, this one needs to get fixed. And now, majority of players probably don't understand this bottleneck because you're not experiencing it. Fair. I'm not experiencing it. But as someone who looks at the resources and does the math of them, I'm telling you right now, you are gaining 15s faster than you are gaining some of these other Orange Gear. I want to call them bottlenecks, but we're going to get into that. Anyway, so let's break this down. Here are all the different bottlenecks in Orange Gear. First one, the origin pieces. These 5 origin pieces, you need hundreds per character, and you probably get a dozen, maybe 2 dozen if you're lucky a week. No, I'll take that back. You probably get a dozen. You probably get 2 dozen if you're actually farming a node that gives you one of these. When you need 400, maybe even 500 per character, it just doesn't cut it. I mean, do the math, guys. I'm telling you right now, you are gaining 15s faster than you are gaining these pieces. And that's percentage-wise, percentage to what you need. Next up, these are the next bottleneck, the catalyst pieces. Not just the SPCs, but these two. Now, the armor ones, granted, because of the character classes that you will probably take the Dark Dimension for, you will not experience a bottleneck in these because that mainly that mainly goes towards a protector class where that's the majority. So the damage, because you're taking the damage dealers, focus, because you're taking controllers, health and resistant is the 4 you're going to be bottlenecked on. Most likely you will be fine on armor. And these pieces, you will need thousands to complete your DD4 team, and you pretty much need more than 1,000 per character. I think one of the easiest ways they could help make this a little better, and just a simple tweak, is just make the rewards inside campaigns guaranteed per farm, and make the rewards inside Catalyst of Change Challenge that all those are guaranteed. You need thousands of them. There's no reason why I could farm it one day and not get a single one of these damage catalysts or a focus tech catalyst or multiples. Like, just, yeah, there's no reason. Just give it to me. You only give me 8 or 16 at a time. Just give it to me. All right, moving on. The next one, the G15 pieces. Like I said, you guys are probably gaining these at a faster percentage rate than you are the previous 2 that I covered. And that's the main reason that Orange Gear is at critical level. You guys will get to the point at some point, everyone will, where you will have an abundance of these, but no Orange Gear to cover, and you'll be hundreds and thousands short, and the farm to get those hundreds and thousands is going to be extremely long if they don't increase the Orange Gear. And if these are the intended bottleneck to 15, once again, there shouldn't be an extreme bottleneck on the other things. And any player, and the problem is I'm a player that's been playing for 800 days. It's going to be till I get to like my 4th wave of building DD4 before I'll experience a bottleneck. And plus, I did the research, so I started farming way in advance. I'm hoping to avoid that bottleneck to complete my DD4 teams. But a newer player, oh, you're going to hit it hard. You're going to hit it so hard because you didn't have the same amount of time frame to store up these orange pieces. Then the G4 team, which is completely farmable in the game. You need a max, like, I think 90 is the most for one character. You could pretty much cover that pretty easily. I may be wrong on that math. I hadn't time to look before I said that. So, and I know 90 is the G15. So these ones a little bit more control. This one, I would probably rate this one probably the least bottleneck thing out of all the Orange Gear. And then the 13s. There are so many of them. Way more than the G14s, way more than G15s. and several high characters take the same gear. Like symbiotes, they all take alien spores, and I can probably net myself 1 alien spore a week most weeks. Probably, I don't know what the average is, but I imagine it's something like that. War Ords, I'm only getting a handful a week. War credits, I only got so much to go around. And if my alliance wants to push to 100%, get the elite orange gear ores, and I found out that a G13 piece will basically fall out of there every 10 openings. So, like I said, orange gear is bottlenecked upon bottlenecked upon bottlenecked. And I would really like to see them do something about this one sooner rather than later. And that will do it for me, guys. Is there any bottleneck that I missed? Please let me know down in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this one, give me a thumbs up. If you're new here and haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button. And if you do not want to miss when the next video from me goes live, don't forget that notification bell. And with all that said, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye.